Welcome to Mom Friend Material with Cherie
and Jayda. I would like to give this disclaimer about this book club. Cherie picked the book. No, it was, okay. So we are avid TV watchers, but we also like to read. I do watch more TV than I read books.
Yeah, I would say that's accurate for me too.
I would like to level it out a little bit, but here we are. So we were like, hey, let's do a book club episode. So we went through a bunch of books, and so Cherie came up with the idea to read this one, which I think, in my opinion, would make an excellent Netflix movie.
Yes.
Prime Video movie. I mean, sure, let's go to theaters with it. But it would make an excellent movie. So it was not, Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo?
It was definitely not Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo level, but I thought it was a good story. Yeah. The journey felt a little drawn out for me.
Yeah.
Which I think is where I kind of lost a little tenacity to continue reading.
Yeah.
But I think the story was great. And honestly, whenever we were trying to pick a book, whenever I read this and I was like, I love that it's not necessarily your typical romantic comedy.
Oh,
it's not a love story. It's
a love story of sorts.
It is a love story of sorts, but it's not your traditional damsel in distress looking for a man.
Oh yeah. Well, I think
kind of, I don't know.
Yeah. So, this book follows a lady. Her name is Nina. What's her last name? It was this cool last name, and why can't I remember?
Yeah.
So Nina
Mystery.
Nina Mystery. That is a superstar name. So
I'm telling you,
Nina finds herself on her 30th birthday in jail.
Yep.
So that was okay.
Set the scene up for all the things that are going to transpire.
And so in jail, they're like, hey, you're in here for a while. Let me give you some reading material. And they give her this self-help book. Which, by no means, this is not anything about motherhood. And please, if you do audiobook, do not listen to this in the car with your kids. There are definitely moments where I was like...
It was a little more risque than I thought it was going to be. Truth be told, just disclaimer there. There's, I would say some semi-controversial topics covered in there.
But so this book just goes along her journey with being able to list 30 things she loved about herself, which I just thought that's wild, because I can personally understand probably that's not the easiest thing for somebody like me to do. But I think what I got from this book was she had this whole evolution of who she really is versus who she was trying to be, and then being taken along the journey of other people, of family members in her life and friends, how friendships evolve as you change. Wasn't it crazy?
That, and I feel like I've experienced that in my life of just, friendships ebb and flow. Some friendships end, some friendships come back around. And it was interesting to kind of watch that, and that part felt very, it resonated well. I also think, I think today we face so much imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of the things. Yeah. Threads now, right? Twitter, all the things. And I think it's so easy to just get sucked into this imposter syndrome. I feel like I'm a very confident person, and I can probably name several things right off the top of my head of oh, I love this about myself. I love this about myself. But then we all have those moments of but am I really good at that?
Yeah.
Is it just luck? Yeah. And so I think that part kind of resonated as the book goes on. It's she kind of builds that confidence in herself of okay, I'm empowered by this. And she started to overcome some of that kind of imposter syndrome.
Well, I think it was almost the thing of, I can't worry about how other people receive this.
Yeah.
This is for me. Because one of the things, for a little bit in the book, let me be honest, I felt the villain in this book, if we're going to pick one, kind of was her mom.
Yeah.
And I think there was certain trauma and things that her mom had to work through and deal with, and how that impacted, you know, Nina and Nina's brother.
Yeah.
And I mean, this book was heavy on things with mental illness for sure.
Yeah.
But it got to a point where, like, you heard Nina just constantly apologizing for things that she did, and her mom being upset, which these things weren't directly done to her mom, but this is how she would look as a mother. And I think some of it was based on their culture.
Yeah.
And I think some of it is just you have parents like that. Like, we live through our children, and whatever you do is a reflection on us and how we parented you. And I think that's such an unfair burden to place on your kids, which, you know, I try and do my best not to do with my kids, and please not when they're adults and they're grown-ups and they need to make certain decisions for themselves. Like, if you're not married by 30, I think we will all survive.
I would much rather you be single at 30 and be waiting to find that person that you actually feel like you can build a life with than you to rush in and be married to somebody who you're going to get divorced from anyway. Exactly. Or, you know, I mean, look, some of that stuff happens regardless, but I would much rather you be single than be with somebody you should not be with.
Yeah.
So this is, I don't know if we disclosed that, but this is about an Indian American family.
Well, no, they're British.
Oh.
Look at that. Did she read the book?
Okay. I did read the book. They are British. Yeah. But she's Indian.
Yeah. They're in
they are
London.
Okay.
But so that was interesting, but I definitely felt like this suburb of London that they were in was like super small.
Yeah.
Everybody knew each other. Everybody knew your business, you know, and it was so funny. One of my favorite parts was like when they realized there was like a parent Facebook group or something.
Oh.
And they were like, when they were trying to find their kids matches, and so they had like dating profiles for their kids, trying to match them up.
Yes.
Like, wait a second, what? Are you advertising me on here? And
right.
Like, oh, absolutely.
Right.
Like, I'm trying to get you married off.
That's such a like odd concept. Like, I think as a parent, like, you want your children to find a life partner that they can like build with. And, you know, I think that's like a form of support that really no one else can like step in and be that person, you know? And so I get it. You know, you talk about the mom being the villain, which I definitely felt like there was a lot of just like really critical, just judgment. I mean, it was brutal at times. I do think there was a little bit of vindication for the mom, though, but whenever she actually acknowledges that, like, maybe I've been too tough, and, like, because of, you know, all of these things that have happened in my life, her trauma, kind of formed who she was as a parent. But then I thought there was a little bit of vindication whenever she kind of embraced it and was like, you know, maybe I've been too tough, and kind of had some sort of self-reflection and self-recognition on that.
I think, and also Nina coming to the place where realizing like she doesn't mean any malice by what she's doing. No, I'm not okay with it, but I also can't live for her in the decisions that I make. But it was hard because even when, so there was a part in the book where Nina gets trolled on social media. And I mean, just some horrific stuff that we're saying. And like, we've seen this all over like the news and, you know, celebrities discuss it. And it's just so horrible that you have these, these keyboard warriors that will never show their face saying hurtful things. And then kind of for her to like, you know, be sad and upset about it. And her mom be like, well, you shouldn't have done this in the first place. And it's like... Right.
Well, and so in the book, Nina's a writer.
Yes.
And she, you know, writes this. And full disclosure, spoiler alert, I feel like, you know, it's hard to, like, really dive into a book club episode without giving you, like, at least some of it. We'll try to, like, not divulge, like, every single piece of this. But, you know, she's a writer. She's writing pieces on, you know, what matters to her, which is race equality.
Right.
But in that, she kind of fumbles the ball a little bit and maybe, you know, tries to downplay these successes that, you know, the African-American Black community has had, where even though she's happy for them, it came off as, oh, that's not significant when it really is.
Well,
because she's feeling a lack of her cultural representation.
Well, I think it was in that thing of like, media, how media tries to like get clickbait or try and pick and puzzle piece words together that don't necessarily go together.
Yeah.
And I think she was so startled by the questions and just fumbling through. So her mom was a little bit right. Maybe she wasn't ready, but you know, the people who put her up for the interview from the place she worked didn't really have her back. Yeah. And I guess if we can recognize that too, is like, you know, whenever you fall, having people have your back, how important that kind of is, and you end up having her back in the long run. But they're like, no, this is good. This is good for you. This is good press. And it just wasn't. No. And she definitely wasn't to the place of confidence in herself that she could handle that, because, you know, she tried to apologize for it, and it was truly a mistake. But it was what people chose to pick from it and make it malice and make it mean. What is it? The fake news kind of situation. So, I mean, I felt bad for her in that moment, but I was like, man, we just have to be so careful. But she thought that her employer had her back, and they did not. They did not. They sailed her down the river, essentially. In more ways, I was going to say, in more ways than one, because then they ended up not even paying her for her several last months of work. Which, like, if I'm working for somebody and you stop paying me, I'm not showing up anymore. Yeah. Let alone giving you free press. Absolutely not. No. Absolutely not. So, what was one of your biggest takeaways from this book? I really loved the part, I don't know if I'd call it like a takeaway, but I loved that. So in the beginning, she's engaged to, who seems like a really nice guy, like very ideal, that, picture perfect, who your parents would want you to marry type of situation. And even though like there was nothing bad about that relationship per se, like he was good to her, he took care of her, like really nice guy. Like I really admired her for recognizing that like there has to be more, and that she didn't want to settle in that part of her life. Like she would rather be single and leave this, safe, comforting relationship in her life and dare to go out on her own and look for more. And so I really loved that and admired that about her, because she easily could have just married Nickel and moved on with her life, had a couple of kids, did the, the traditional thing. What mommy wants you to do. What your mom wants you to do. And probably lived a good life, like it's not like she really expresses like, I'm unhappy, I'm being abused. Like there was none of that. It was just they weren't meant for each other. They were just not meant for each other. And so I really admire her for that. That stood out to me as one of like the biggest, like, I love that of the book. What about you? So a couple points that I definitely like. So I'm going to give the spoiler at the end. Okay. The big spoiler at the end is she does not end up with anybody. Yeah. But herself. Yeah. I mean, she still has her family. She has her circle. But she doesn't end up like being with a man just because that's what she should do. Right. But one of my favorite journeys in there was her friendship that she made, and it was the fact that she had childhood friends that she knew she had grown apart from, but she just, these are all I have, these are all I know. Yeah. But her journey to make new friends and those bonds that she literally was able to make. Yeah. Coming into her own and finding people a little bit more in line with who she was. She didn't, for a time she lost some of the old friends, but the journey that she made to make these even closer bonds with friends that were, who she was becoming. Yeah. I think is the bigger part, because sometimes we have friends that are there, what is it, the cliche thing, for a season. But as you grow, sometimes you need friends that are growing with you. Yeah. And not keeping you boxed in or making you feel bad about yourself either for what you you didn't do. But I thought it was ironic with that friendship journey with the childhood friend was I was so envious of what you had going on. But I didn't like that those unspoken things. Well, no, but I was jealous of what you had. And it's like, you know.
It's that want what you can't have like mentality. And it's like, oh, no, I want this. And I like that part too.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was really cool to see just the genuine evolution of her finding 30 things she loved about herself because in the beginning, I mean, how many could she think of? Maybe 5 or 6?
I was about to say it wasn't very much. It was a pretty small list. And I think, you know, she was struggling with so much self-identity in the beginning too of like, you know, I can't even think. And that I did love the list. I'm like, I might take that away and just be like, okay, let me write down all the things that like I really love about myself. So like when you do have those really bad days or something doesn't go your way or whatever, you can take that and you can look at it and you can go, but I'm amazing at this.
Yeah.
And I'm great at this. And I love this about myself. Go back and look at that list and really just remind yourself that you are a good person. You are doing the best you can. Right. There is so much to love about you. So that I loved that part. And really that's what stuck out to me the most whenever picking this book. Even though it kind of journeyed. We went out in left field a few times where I was like, this is a little strange. But overall, like I feel like us as we as moms, like we don't do enough self-love of like, you know, I appreciate everything that I do for our family and I do for me. And I, you know, like taking that conscious time to kind of step back, that was honestly the number one reason why I was like, I think this could be a really great book for our book club.
No, I mean, I think she wasn't a mom, it wasn't a family journey, but I think there was because we both love personal development books. So I was like, where is this going with this? But it was just cool that I don't think she intentionally took a whole year, but the book kind of
it spans
a year and just that journey and being intentional about growth. And making mistakes because we all will make mistakes and like what you can learn now. I mean, I don't know if I feel as bold as her to go and ask other people what they love about me because when you got some of those responses in the book, you're like, God, okay. Do you like me at all?
Right.
You know, kind of thing. But it's like discovering the things about yourself. And kind of making them like almost like words of affirmation for yourself to remind yourself, like you said, you know, I am special. Like she quotes Maya Angelou, I'm a phenomenal woman. You know, like to love herself, to love ourselves is so important because, you know, you can have other people love you, but it's nothing more feeling than you to love yourself enough.
I think that truthfully to love others properly, like and at the highest level you possibly can, you have to love yourself first. Like I can't expect my self-worth to come from my mom loving me, my husband loving me, my child loving me. Like it has to come from me loving me. And that was very clear from that book of like, you know, you see her struggle with her mom, struggle with her friends, struggle with partners. And it's like, you know, really until she kind of came full circle on that, like, I love me moment of like, and really feel it, you know, like it was really like, I have made it here and I feel this way. It really pulled everything I thought together at that point whenever we kind of made that turn in the book of like, she really found self-love.
Yeah, and I was waiting for that turn. I'm like, my God, at some point, she's got to win. Like, I want her to win somewhere in here. Please let her win. And you're just like, not yet. Not yet.
She went, I mean, it was quite the journey. I mean, there was a lot of ups and downs and roller coasters, and there was a lot of talk about mental health.
Yeah, I did like that a lot. And I think it kind of, they tied into like some of it. They didn't really say it could be like hereditary, but just the impact of like a parent not getting what they needed and the help that they needed with the mental health journey. And then it coming down to her brother. And I mean, if you really think about it, some version of it with herself. You know, I just thought it was so powerful, them supporting her brother in that journey, you know.
I really appreciated that part of the book. And I think that we don't talk about mental health nearly enough.
Mm-hmm.
I think it affects every single person at one point in their life or another.
Yeah.
Some of us more than others.
Yeah.
And, you know, I thought that was very beautifully written, and I'm glad that we're talking about that topic more. And it was talked about a lot all throughout the book. And so I think the more we talk about it, the less taboo it will be.
Yeah.
And so I did appreciate that. And I thought she did a really good job portraying, you know, the mom trying to figure out how to support the son and then from a sibling perspective. And, you know, that, you know, we kind of saw that come full circle too, you know.
And him finding his own and him finding his place, which I think was just such a beautiful story, because it really took somebody else believing enough in you and showing you things that you couldn't see for yourself. Like, I understand you're in a dark, sunken place, but here, let me be here to help pull you out of it, you know, and just help him as he needed, because I felt like he resisted a lot until he just didn't. You know,
agreed.
But they were there the whole time, and I loved that no matter what she had going on, she was able to be a great sister. And the mom doing, I don't know, felt like for a long time she had a favorite kid.
It did feel that way.
So, but I think she meant well. But I think sometimes their mothers are like, they see so much of themselves in a daughter. That maybe that's why I don't know. Just speculation. So.
I don't know. Yeah. No, I feel you. I mean, I think, you know, it did feel that way for a while. You were like, okay, well, there's definitely a favorite. Because, you know, all this time and energy. But I think, too, as a mother, sometimes you recognize that, like, you know, sometimes this child might need more than the next. And, you know, doesn't mean that you shouldn't still pay equal attention. But, it felt a little lopsided in the book, which I think is a common thing that a lot of people face, you know. So out of 5 stars, what would you rate this book?
I would give it 3.5.
Okay, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like,
I read your mind.
We were like on the same page there. Yeah, I think like 5 for me. I rarely give a 5 on books that I read. Like, it has to knock it out of the park. Evelyn Hugo is a 5 for me. And that was to a slow start. Which I would guess like a slow start. It was a slow start, but
it had me in the trenches entirely too long. Which books are like that. So like if it's not enough twists and turns, 7 Husbands of Evelyn. Like when that Netflix movie comes out,
oh, I'm so ready.
I am so ready, and then we're gonna pick it apart.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think I try and always take away something. From it, and I just loved literally the title, 30 Things I Love About Myself, and just watching her journey along the way to discover who she was. But I was ready to figure it out. Like, I just felt so bad for her for 70% of the book. Like, I need you to win.
I mean, it was like one thing after another that just kind of like digging her into that trench. Like, you felt like she was so deep. Like, and you're like, how do you get out of this? But she found her way. You know, she did find her way. And so I think it's a good book about personal triumph and like overcoming those life challenges. And I thought it was a good read overall. You know, there was definitely some moments where I know I texted you. I was like, I am ready for this book to be over, because you are in the trenches for a minute. Like, I'm like, I need to get out of this. It's stressing me.
But I mean, like,
but it's life.
Yes. It's life. Like, I'm ready to get out of it, but there's still more to learn. And I think had she got out of it any sooner, we wouldn't have got the same result. She would have ended up with some random guy that didn't meet everything she needed or didn't think highly of her or whatever. You know.
Oh, I agree.
So
I agree.
I like the way it ended.
Yes.
Even though it wasn't like a romantic comedy.
No.
I definitely laughed at certain points.
Oh, yeah.
But, so I mean, I can add it to my books that I've read this year.
Yep. So 3.5 stars for 30 Things I Love About Myself from both of us.
Yes.
And we promised that we were giving away a copy of the book.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And we've got all of our entries. We've picked our winner.
Yes.
So congratulations to Millie
Yay.
for winning the book. Thanks for being an incredible listener. Millie is so faithful to us and always listening and promoting and all of that good stuff. And so, so we are very happy to get you your copy so that you can read it and hopefully let us know what you think.
Bye.
Bye, guys.